Mario. Although the hero in most Nintendo tales, I have to say this guy has unfortunately died in some very, very brutal deaths. From getting crushed, to falling off cliffs, burning alive in lava, drowning, the list goes on and on. But if there was a tier list for ways that Mario could die, all of these would certainly be low-ranking deaths. The most basic, unimaginative deaths. Now you may be surprised to hear this, but we're going to be death connoisseurs today. We're going to be talking about the ways that Mario can die that are unconventional, rare, bizarre, and some that are just outright depressing. These are the weirdest ways that Mario can die, so I hope you enjoy. Throughout my childhood, Mario was a staple, and as I grew older, video games were something I felt I could go back to. But my childhood toys, those were donated to other families by my parents. I often wonder where they are now. Figurines have sort of become the craze for collectors nowadays, perhaps filling that void. And Figure Fantasy, the sponsor of today's video, is all about that. Figure Fantasy sort of picks up on that Toy Story feeling, where collectors' figurines come to life when no one is around. And of course, what better thing to do than battle other toys and figurines nearby? In Figure Fantasy, you can collect all sorts of different stylized figurines for you to battle with, or even display in your own collection. You can even furnish your cabinets to make them themed. Battles take place on a 3x3 grid, where position can be important. So be sure to mix and match your figurines strategically so you can prevail regardless of what powerful foes you may encounter. You can even have your figurines collect resources while you sleep. The collecting experience in-game feels like opening a present with each new figurine, and there are plenty of events to keep you busy and engaged in the active community. With hundreds of figures to collect, plenty of powerful foes to overcome, and your own display cabinets to customize to your liking, there's a lot to do within Figure Fantasy. So, if you're ready to build your own figurine army, click the link in the description below to play Figure Fantasy today. And a huge thanks to Figure Fantasy for sponsoring this video and supporting my channel. Oh, Mario deaths are a curious thing. Now, if you've been aboard the SwankyBox train for a while now, you'll know that I've done some messed up stuff in my days when it comes to Mario games. Stuff I'm not always proud of, but I guess that's half the fun. Throughout the history of my channel, I've encountered some very strange Mario deaths. But what are the weirdest? Well, we're going to hop between games for a bit, because each game seems to have its own unique kill situations, so let's do this. First up, we have Super Mario 64. In the earliest days of me covering this game, I was really into the idea of people modding it and creating new experiences. Being able to rearrange assets in the game to create remarkable levels. I mean, look at this masterpiece. Nintendo, are you watching this? But it was in this chaos of enemy spam and plainly rotated assets that the Door of Death was discovered. When activated, doors in Super Mario 64 play a set animation where Mario grabs the handle, walks forward through the door, and then closes it as the player regains control. But while in this door opening state, Mario will always reach his destination. Slap a door on a wall and look, Mario just walked through it. Incredible. But do this on a wall that has nothing behind it, and Mario will step into the Shadow Realm only to meet his demise. Immediately upon letting go of the door handle, Mario will be obliterated and instantly killed. So why does this happen? Well, it actually has to do with how boundaries are defined in Super Mario 64. In the model for the stage, if Mario leaves the collision boundaries for the level and enters an out-of-bounds region, he'll be instantly killed. For an average player, this is difficult to do because the game's walls and collision will try to keep Mario in bounds, but certain animations or situations can push Mario past the intended boundaries. This kills the spider. And by spider, I mean Mario. What's interesting is that there are also other methods that trigger a similar effect. I mean, if opening a door to a black void wasn't the worst way to go, imagine if you walked into a floating block and your body just didn't know what to do. At certain height levels, Mario can be tricked into getting smashed, and he'll basically freeze in this pose for a few seconds until the game just unloads him, killing us off. This happened a few times in my Mario Minecraft videos, and it almost felt like I was getting sucked into this region where it killed me. It was by far Mario's most pathetic death I've ever experienced. So, with doors to the great beyond and problematic block deaths on the table, it's time to swap to another Mario game. I think at this point in the video, it's important to define what a death actually is too, in my opinion, because in my eyes, it isn't always just a character reset. To me, an extreme, inescapable situation that would eventually lead to death for a character is also acceptable. Like Mario drowning forever in quicksand beneath Rico Harbor in Super Mario Sunshine. I mean, clipping through the ground like this and getting stuck is a double whammy. Not only will Mario drown eventually, but his body will be sucked beneath the earth and no one will be able to find him. How was that for grim? I'm going to be honest and say that I do not remember how I got this to happen, because this was recorded back in 2015 or 2016. Something equally grim though is if Mario did escape this state of dread and fall beneath a level, he's going to die anyways. Beneath each level in Super Mario Sunshine is a death plane, essentially a floor that stops the player, and once they come in contact with it, they will die. Except Super Mario Sunshine does their death planes a bit differently. Mario can touch the ground, but he cannot stay on it for more than a second. So you can survive down here, but you must keep jumping over and over again. Once Mario becomes exhausted though, he'll eventually bite the bullet. It's only a matter of time until death comes knocking. But we don't want to die alone. We want to die in the company of other people. And this death I'm about to show is something I did way back when I first played this game. So in Super Mario Sunshine, if Mario loses his hat, he begins to take damage slowly. Apparently, it's because of heat exhaustion. But I like to believe Mario's body begins to deteriorate without his hat. The thing is though, the developers never stop this clock from ticking when you talk to people. So Mario can be in mid-conversation and just die. He flatlines at the theme park, and the person he's chatting with couldn't care less that the person in front of them has passed away. Morbid, but hilarious. When we finish this conversation though, our death screen kicks in, and Mario lingers on as a ghost outside this theme park for the rest of time. Okay, so perpetual suffocation in quicksand, check. Death by heat stroke, check. Entering a pipe that unloads Mario. Oh, that's a new one. So in Super Mario 3D Land, there's this weird pipe on the title screen that has the power to just destroy Mario. You may have heard me talk about this in a previous video, but all pipes require an entry pipe and an exit pipe. Well, unfortunately, this pipe has no exit since the player isn't supposed to be in this area. So, when Mario goes down, he never comes back. He's trapped between dimensions while trying to warp to an exit pipe that doesn't exist. There might as well be a black hole in this bad boy because it's basically the same thing. But why wait for an unfinished pipe to do you in? Why not just die from a totally normal and not broken at all Goomba? Because apparently, if a giant tail Goomba is displaced improperly in Super Mario 3D Land and tries to initiate a tail swipe, well, the entire level just erases itself, snapped out of existence in the blink of an eye, and along with it, our friendly plumber Mario. This is most bizarre, but it's definitely a death you can brag about with your friends. Imagine their face when you tell them a Goomba killed you. Priceless. The only way to top all of this is to head out into the great beyond ourselves though. Heading over to Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, there are a few different deaths that I've encountered in my strange travels and experiments. Why get sucked into a black hole when you can spiral forever in space between multiple gravity planes? If Mario heads above Deep Dark Galaxy, they can find a launch star lost in space that sends them straight to their death. But this star doesn't just kill them. Once the player respawns after their first death, they'll appear out in deep space falling. And unfortunately, they'll get caught up in the vacuum of space and spin over and over again with no way to escape. It's nauseating. Kinda reminds me of that time Luigi kept respawning out of a pipe onto an unloaded planet in Toy Time Galaxy. Poor fella. But the fun doesn't stop there. I mean, launch stars are cool and all, but if we accelerate Mario's speed to hundreds of times its normal value, we can launch Mario so far out into space and at such great speeds that his body will begin to rip apart at its seams. He'll grow into a contorted mess as he eventually breaks past a skybox containing the universe. And then, he'll pass into uncharted territory, drifting onward with no way to stop his velocity from hurling him continually through space. Mario's body stretches out because of the floating point number system the game uses. So, as his position values become insanely huge numbers, the positioning for his rigging and animations becomes less and less accurate the farther we move outward. A terrifying way to go, if I must say so myself. So it turns out there are a lot of weird, unconventional ways to kill a plumber. Whether you burn him alive and spawn a star, thus creating an endless loop of death like in Super Mario 64, or if we swing on over to his brother and make Luigi pass through walls until the game overloads, thus creating a black hole that rips him out of the mansion. There's a lot of insane ways they can die. But how about you? What's your weirdest Mario death? Let me know in the comments, and until next time, cheers!